Well, I got my brand new camcorder, but what kind of movie should I make with it? It really does seem that the hardest part of any video project is starting the darn thing. Well, I sat down, I thought about it, and for whatever reason, I started thinking about the Disney villains. So I've decided to do my top 5 favorite Disney villains. Why? Because I like Disney villains. And so do you. Oh yeah, you may act like you don't care about these guys, or talk about how gory their actions are for kids' films. The fact of the matter is, you don't have a choice. These guys are a big part of Disney's work both ways thing. Appropriate for adults and for children. And once the villains of these movies pull you in with their storytelling, they're never gonna leave you. They're there forever. Now keep in mind that this is my personal opinion. If you like, hate, or like to hate any of these villains, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just putting out my favorites. Also keep in mind that I don't really have means of burning the movies that they came from onto my computer, so the quality might not be all that great. But bear with me, okay, people?
Five.
It's showtime!
A lot of people love Toy Story 2 better than 1 for how well it focuses on the dilemmas of the newly introduced characters. But I love it better than 1 for this guy. The owner of Al's Toy Barn is probably the funniest villain in all the Toy Story franchise. And him stealing Woody was pretty much the villainous deed that started the action of Toy Story 2 in the first place. He may be the only villain that poses no threat whatsoever to the toys. In fact, Woody's well-being actually benefits him. But like I said, he's definitely the funniest villain. He wants to sell Woody to a Japanese museum so he can be rich. I assume owning a toy store sells a pretty decent wage anyway, but whatever. And when things appear to look up for him when going for this goal, he gets so cheerful and giddy and productive and basically hams it up whenever he has something to say to himself and to the people he talks to.
Now that I have your attention, imagine we added another 0 to the price, eh? What? Yes! Yes! You got a deal! I'll be on the next flight to Japan! Don't touch my mustache!
He does everything he can to keep his stolen item as shipshape as possible for the big trip to Japan. And when things look even the slightest bit bleak for him on this goal, you should listen to how emotional he gets.
No! His arm! Where's his arm? Oh, no, 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 no!
Wayne Knight really sells the deliveries of his positive and negative lines. He's a very underrated character, though, for an antagonist. No doubt because the position of the main villain has pretty much been changed from him to the Prospector, aka Stinky Pete. I'm sure he has his fans being voiced by Kelsey Grammar and all, but honestly, I feel Al needs more fans too. He's funny, and he's emotional. And that's about all I can say about him.
4.
The only reason anybody even bothers with this movie is just to see this villain in action.
You are correct, sir!
Like Al, Hades is a very humorous villain that, whenever he comes on screen, is pure delight to watch. Unlike Al, though, Hades does have a pretty big fan base. The movie itself tells the story of Greek mythology in its own creative and rather modern way. But some of the characters aren't really that memorable with their modern talk. Hades freaking perfected it. Hades, as his fans know, is the evil ruler of the underworld who wants to overthrow Zeus and take control of Olympus, as well as keep Hercules from interfering. But wait a minute. The Hades in Greek mythology was known to be an animal lover, not the evil ruler of the underworld. This apparently shows that Disney didn't do enough research. Well, he's still great. According to an interview with his voice actor James Woods, him trying a normal voice for the character instead of, like, an evil overlord surprisingly works for Hades. And never mind the fact that most of Hades' lines were improvised. That alone kind of shocked me when I learned this.
He's got to have a weakness because everybody's got a weakness. I mean, for what? Pandora, it was the box thing. For the Trojans, hey, they bet on the wrong horse, okay?
I also heard that this was one of Woods' most favorite roles to do. That's really saying something about a character when even the voice actor had fun with him. Plus, unless I miss my guess, Woods has a reputation of voicing villainous characters in other works as well. Even played himself as a villain in Family Guy.
Ooh, a piece of candy. 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 Ooh, a piece of candy.
He's a great actor for a great character. Plain and simple.
3.
Okay, enough of the funny guys. Time to dive into one of the darker dudes. As you all know, the movie he's from was so big that it was the highest grossing 2D animated film ever. This doesn't surprise me. As a kid, I sensed its popularity coming, since everybody I asked about The Lion King is familiar with it. And I do mean everybody. But enough of that. Let's talk about the villain. He was none too happy when Simba came along because he was next in line to be king. Ah, come on, guy, keep your fur on. No, seriously, keep your fur on. I saw you as a fur coat in Hercules. Anyway, how does Scar solve his problems? By attempting to murder both Simba and Mufasa, of course. What kind of a world do we live in where you can't even trust your own uncle/brother anymore? Actually, let me clarify. It was Simba he attempted to murder, while Mufasa, well, you know the rest. Not a lot of Disney villains actually succeed in killing off a main character, let alone his own brother. Yes, siblings fight, and Scar and Mufasa had a bit of a vitriol in the beginning, but Mufasa is still a good and noble character and still probably cares about his brother. And for Scar to kill his noble and wise king, let alone his own brother, that is a new low for a Disney villain to sing. It's amazing what they can get away with in a G-rated movie. At first I believed that the rating system made a mistake and that little kids are going to start talking about killing people. But then I realized that how dark these villains are and how good they make these movies actually make great selling points. And since the darkness of his movie is enjoyable anyway, I had to put him on the list. Can the next villain pull off such a daring murder plot? Next guy. I could jump into the screen and hug this character. Really, I could. Kaa has a fan base so insanely humongous, I can't even begin to explain. His ginormous fan base, I believe, even surpasses the main villain, Shere Khan. And of course, I support this fan base. I really don't like Shere Khan as much as I like Kaa. Sorry to all his fans.
What a pity.
But anyway, why do we like this guy so much more than Connie? Easy. His hypnotism. He can literally hypnotize his prey to keep them still and or calm them down so he can eat them. That's pretty creative. He may not have it succeed in any murders like Scar has, not that we've seen in the movie anyway, but this was the first villain I remember from my childhood to even use this ability. He was the cause of my fondness for hypnotism in the first place, so he deserves to be on the list. And you can imagine how happy I was to see Kaa back in action in the sequel, where after an unsuccessful attempt to make a meal out of Mowgli again, he lays his eye wrap, as I've heard it called, on Shanti instead. Why he doesn't try to hypnotize Mowgli in the sequel, I don't know. Furthermore, okay, I'll get this off my chest, I think this scene is hot. Shanti is the first female victim, again, that we've seen, to fall prey to this villain's enchantment. And again, as the cause of my fondness of hypnotism, I don't want to sound like a pervert, but this turned me on to hypnotism on pretty young females. That's what most fictional works focus on anyway. I remember begging my folks to take me to this movie again the following day just for that one freaking scene. Nowadays, I actually think it's better than the original version of this. Why? Well...
Guess who? You like popsicles? And you need to come on down to the cellar. I got a whole freezer full of popsicles.
So there, I made a statement that I'm sure will cause a bit of controversy, but this is a great villain with great powers. I've gone on about him long enough. See him in action if you have not already.
1.
We scare because we spoilers! How can you top Mr. Hypno Eyes? Well, if you're a fan of Monsters Inc., or if you're looking forward to seeing Monsters University, you'd understand. This movie's premise deals with monsters scaring kids so that their screams of terror can fuel the monster world. The CEO of this three-generation business is Henry J. Waternoose III, who kinda looks like a male version of Ursula that inhabits land. The company, however, is suffering an energy crisis due to how hard kids are to scare nowadays. But is Waternoose going to give up providing energy for his beloved Monster City? Heck no!
James, this company's been in my family for 3 generations. I would do anything to keep it from going under.
As worried as Waternoose may be of the outcome of everybody's power, he has devised an elegant solution to this dilemma. Kidnap children and hook them up to a giant machine that has the ability to suck up the screams of children in a very horrifying and torturous manner, which if the effects on fungus were considered standard, would kill them through suffocation by sucking the very air from their lungs along with their screams, or leave them very weak or suffer severe brain damage. What a wonderful solution! But one monster can't possibly pull out this horrible crime alone. It requires some help. So who does it get in this posse? Randall Boggs, a chameleon centipede snake thing who can turn invisible, climb up walls, and apparently is good with engineering. He's another great villain, but I don't think his motives are quite as reasonable as Waternoose. I mean, Randall just wants to be better than Sully. Waternoose wants to solve the energy crisis. In his own twisted manner, of course. So why do I like someone who's not really that funny like Hades or not capable of hypnotism like Ka? Well, maybe it's how people who want to run a business themselves relate to him. The business world is full of challenges, an everyday battle of good or bad decisions. And it's perfectly possible and likely for a man to grow attached to a business, let alone one that lights your city. Those who have a tough time benefiting your friends and neighbors really know how Waternoose feels. Or maybe it's the hype to see the upcoming Monsters University talking like I said. On top of that, his motives that I've already explained make much more sense to an adult or a teenager than it will to a kid. His evil plot is a little all over the place. Heck, I acknowledge Randall is the main villain. I didn't know that this guy was behind the conspiracy until I was older.
Pretty crazy, huh?
This character was done by the late James Coburn, and this was his last animated role. Well, luckily the character doesn't have to go too, because I heard that he'll be in Monsters University, I assume as one of the professors, to be done by Kelsey freaking Grammar.
You want the truth? You can't handle the truth. No truth handler, you! Bah! I deride your truth-handling abilities!
I just hope the university won't use any rakes if you catch my drift. I also heard Randall will be in it as well. It's nice to know that the 2 main villains will be in this upcoming epic, but in all honesty, how they could have made it a tad bit better can be summed up in 5 words. Come back, Boo! Come back! This concludes my top 5 favorite Disney villains. Who knows what others we might come across in other Disney or Pixar films. After all, I talked about humor, evil family members, hypnotism, and reasonable business dilemmas, all the things Disney's wonderful at talking about. Clearly, Disney has a logical understanding of what I like to see in movies, or at least how to become the cause of them.
Let's go!